So hello friends, the recording has started, and there are few participants and some more will join with us. And if you see the previous web talks, you may find huge number. Maybe it is because of this exam time, and students are spending time in the library even they are not coming to the class regularly. So since we are recording this talk, one can also see it, view it on YouTube. So, uh, you know, today we have among us Dr. I'm using again Doctor. He has already submitted his PhD, and he is my friend, Dr. Pradeep Kumar Panda, and he's my friend. He's my batchmate in the HU, and I'm quite happy seeing him today. The kind of position he has, hold, and the kind of works he has done. So today I have given this responsibility to one of my student, Om Prakash, to introduce the speaker. I mean, what the speaker has done, what credentials the speaker of today is having. And as a convener, I think I will introduce the topic, and then Pradeep can start his session. Now it's Om Prakash. To
Yes, sir.
you can introduce our speaker.
Thanks, Dr. Himanshu Sekhar Mishra sir, for giving me a chance to introduce one of the eminent person of the Odisha, an economist. And today's the speaker is Dr. Pradeep Kumar Panda. Now he is a consultant of its present time. He is also working in the Sustainable Development Goal Monitoring Unit in Planning Convergence of the Department of Government of Odisha, and he also worked many institutions like the Indian Institute of Public Administration, New Delhi as a consultant, and he has also done many works also. He has completed his master degree in the University of Hyderabad in 2009 and completed Master of Philosophy in the University of Hyderabad in 2011 and is recently completed his postdoctorate in IGNOU, Indira Gandhi National Open University of New Delhi, and he has written a huge amount of books. It may be 20 books such as the Maritime History of Odisha in 2022, Indian Statistical Service 2021, UGC Net Economics 2022, Women Empowerment 2017, Indian Economic Service 2019. And he has also published a research paper in chapters, it may be 42 in his career life, and he has also got many awarded in the international national level, such as the International Youth Leadership Award in 2022 by SIDU Bangladesh, Achiever of the Year Award 2022 by Network Media Limited New Delhi, National Youth Icon Award, Best Economist. He has got a huge amount of award in his life, and I hope this today's topic will be very fruitful for us. You may explain about this webinar. Thank you, sir.
So thank you, Om, for this introduction. I know Pradeep very personally, and the kind of achievement he has, gathered, that is something rare, right? So I have not seen any friend of him who have achieved that much what Pradeep has achieved. And more importantly, now Pradeep right now he is also working on this sustainable development goal under government of Odisha, and I think he is the right person to handle such a topic. And today the topic on which he will speak, that is NITI Aayog and sustainable development and evaluation. The titles, it's very much simple. One can understand that to what extent NITI Aayog has achieved and hasn't achieved this sustainable development, and the speaker will evaluate it. And we have among us another important person to whom Pradeep, he knows very well, Dr. Santosh Kumar Mahapatra. and he will be the discutant of this talk. He is also a
Good evening to everybody.
good evening, sir.
Good.
So he is also a person from economics, but then I find from their writings of Dr. Mahapatra and Dr. Panda that they have started from economics, but right now they are talking about non-economic aspect of the development. And when we talk about development, it means development is both qualitative and quantitative. So growth is part of the development. Okay, let me introduce the topic as the since I'm the convener. Let me do that. Now, sustainable development means a development that can be sustained for the future generation. The difference between the growth and development is that while growth is quantitative, development is qualitative. Development incorporates growth, but not vice versa. When we talk about development, it is both economic and non-economic. And when I'm saying non-economy, then we understand it as political, as social, cultural, environmental, etc. And sustainable development, therefore, bothers about how to sustain the economic and non-economic aspect of the development for the future generation. So it's all about a concern for the future generation. And when we talk about sustainable development goals on which Dr. Panda is right now working with government of Odisha, these sustainable development goals are actually universal sets of goals, targets and indicators that 193 countries in the entire globe have jointly set under the leadership of United Nations. Now, the countries are expected to frame their agendas and policies over the next 15 years to end the poverty, to protect the planet, to enjoy this peace, and to ensure prosperity for all. That is something, what we can remember what Gandhiji was talking about, the concept of Sarbodaya. The 2030 agenda is a plan of action for people, for planet, and for prosperity. 2030 agenda contains 17 sustainable development goals and 169 targets to stimulate global action over the next 15 years on issues that is critical to humanity and planet. So sustainable development is a concern. It's because there is a danger for humanity and for planet. To protect humanity and planet, sustainable development, it is very much important and we must discuss it. The government of India has played a leadership role in defining sustainable development goal agenda. NITI Aayog, the India's policy think tank, in collaboration with union ministries and states and union territories, is the nodal agency for coordinating and monitoring the sustainable development goals. Through the approach of cooperative and competitive federalism, the NITI Aayog works towards the accelerated adoption, implementation, and monitoring of Sustainable Development Goal framework and related initiatives at national and sub-national level. NITI Aayog works closely with key stakeholders such as government, civil society, private sector, academia, think tanks, research organization, and multilateral organization to achieve the sustainable development goals in India. Today, I think the speaker will give us a more clearer picture what NITI Aayog has achieved so far as this sustainable goal, a sustainable development goal is concerned, and what are yet to be achieved. And today the speaker will evaluate the role of NITI Aayog in such context. And we have another person, as I told, Dr. Santosh Kumar Mahapatra. He will evaluate the speaker's evaluation on this, topic. So with this, with this little, background or introduction, now I am welcoming my friend Pradeep to start his session. Yes, Pradeep, now you can start.
Namaskar, Jai Jagannath. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's indeed a pleasure to talk on this topic. My friend, very good friend, Himanshu has invited me for this session, and my respected Santosh Kumar Mahapatra sir, with whom I have good relation, and we have written a lot of articles together. So basically, I come from development sector. I have worked in development sector for over 14 years. So I have seen what the development sector, uh, what development should be and what it is. Like as a student of economics, we always told that development should have human face. So is it human face? Is it sustainable development? Is it inclusive development? How far we have achieved and what is the status? So I'll present my slide and we'll discuss on this topic. So is it visible? Slide visible?
I think yes, now you have to make it full, I think.
It's full now.
Okay, you can continue, no problem.
Yeah. So this talk will be on basically NITI Aayog and sustainable development and evaluation. It will contain what is sustainable development, the evaluation of sustainable development over a period of time till date, and how far India has achieved sustainable development goal, as also Odisha, and where we lagged. So what the data says. I'll be giving a simple picture so that everyone can understand it clearly, and I will quote some facts to support the what is the position. So to start with, as Himanshu said, we believe in Sarvodaya, Mahatma Gandhi Sarvodaya. Our ancestor, like root origin, be it Gita, Upanishad, everyone talks about the civilization, a good civilization. So a civilization is judged by how it treats its most vulnerable. The job of civilization is to treat its most vulnerable, and government, the prime importance of the government to solve those in needy, like the last man standing in the row, that we say, poorest and the poor and marginalized, all this. So how far we have achieved, that is sustainable development. So coming on to the definition, as Himanshu said, sustainable development is basically is an organizing principle for meeting human development, because all of our human, we have a lot of demands, and there are scarce resources which have alternative uses. So our policy should be optimum utilization of resources, as well as to sustain the ability of nature to provide natural resource and ecosystem for the future, because it is scarce in nature and sometimes non-renewable, exhaustive in nature. So the desired result is a state of society where living condition and resources are used to continue to meet human needs without undermining the integrity and stability of nature. So this definition of sustainable development is not new. It is given in Brundtland Commission report in 1987. So it's around 35 years. So development that meets need without compromising the future. We have to preserve our natural resource. We have to grow as well as preserve our natural resources. That is the challenge of sustainable development. If we talk of sustainable development, it's sustainable development circle. It has various facets. Three facets are social, economic, and environment. Social includes political, cultural, psychological also, because it's a broad context. So socially equitable growth, economically viable growth, and environmentally bearable. So sustainable development is what is socially equitable, economically viable, environmentally bearable. So if you see the crux of the matter, if we achieve all three uh, points, then it is sustainable. If you don't achieve any one of these, then it is not sustainable development. We have to think about our policy. Then, as I said, evaluation of sustainable development, there is a long history. It started from Brundtland Commission report 1987, then Earth Summit of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, where 178 countries adopted Agenda 21, that is sustainable development. Then we all know, before sustainable development goals, millennium development goals started from like 2000 to 2015, but that was not achieved. Then again, Johannesburg Declaration on Sustainable Development in 2002. Then Rio, there was a United Conference in 2012 to discuss on the future course of action. Then based on the working committee that discussed the matter on the achievement of Millennium Development Goal, in January 2015, United Nations General Assembly, that UN is the, as we know.
Pradeep,
Yes.
your slide is not moving. That is the first. And second thing, I request you to switch off the light that is at your background actually.
Okay.
Uh,
Once again. Is the slide moving now?
Now I think it has stopped actually. Now it's not moving. Only the evolution of sustainable development.
Okay.
That page is I can see.
After that,
Now
Nithya.
now it's moving. Yes.
Okay.
Now I can move.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
So, I was talking about 2015. So, a lot of things happened in 2015 that is culminated to sustainable development. As September 25th, September 2015, a lot of 193 nation signed a sustainable development goal, that is 17 sustainable development, which we'll discuss in detail. Then there was Sendai framework of disaster risk reduction in March 2015. That is on disaster risk reduction. That is a policy on that. Then Addis Ababa action on financing for development. Then Paris Agreement on climate change. So these five were contributed to sustainable development. Then coming to role of NITI Aayog, as we know, NITI Aayog is the National Institution for Transforming India, was formed by the resolution of Union Cabinet on 1st January 2015. Erstwhile Planning Commission was transformed into. So it is premier policy think tank of Government of India, providing directional and policy inputs, and basically designing long-term policies, programs of Government of India, and also providing strategic and technical advice to union government, various state government, and union territories. So it is a multi-level stakeholder consultation, and it acts as platform of Government of India to bring states together in national interest, and thereby fostering cooperative federalism. So center and state, healthy center-state relation, as we know, that is cooperative federalism, and also in some matter competitive federalism, where there is scope to each and every state can contribute and emulate the goals. So both cooperative and competitive federalism. Then coming to NITI Aayog and SDG, NITI Aayog has the twin mandate to oversee adoption of monitoring of sustainable development goal in the country and promote competitive and cooperative federalism among the state, as I said. So it is not only collecting the data on SDG, but proactively realize goals and targets, which will take 17 goals, 169 targets. So Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, Government of India, has done a parallel exercise of interaction with ministry to find out the indicators basically the measurement of SDG goals and targets. So Nithya, in consultation of OSPI, has mapped these goals and targets and prioritization and basically align our various central sector schemes, central sponsor scheme, state sector scheme, so that we can achieve SDGs. So the monitoring and evaluation framework of a sustainable development goal is based on outcome monitoring framework. So little bit on output and outcome. So output is the immediate result when we do some policy actions, some of the achieve like Beti Bachao Beti Padhao, then literacy. What we achieve immediately in short term is called output. Outcome is long term or medium term or long term result, that is no poverty. Like what is our vision? Healthy living being. That is outcome. So for every goal there is output outcome monitoring framework. Then there is data governance quality index for measuring this. Then global indices and all sectoral review, so that we know all the sectors are leading together. For that, to achieve sustainable development goals, we need SDG budgeting and monitoring, because every goal needs schemes. For implementing schemes, we need the budget. So SDG monitoring and budgeting. Then institutionalizing and promoting the evaluation, engagement of the state, so that we know that all the states are achieving the sustainable development goal and all the states are on same page. This is where the political science comes, center-state relation. So better the center-state relation, better the engagement with state, and better the cooperative federalism and competitive federalism. So not only state government, because sustainable development goal is for all. So we have to do partnership with academic institutions like all the universities, NITs, IIT, all institutions. Then capacity building for all, and institutional frameworks, because it involves all the public-private partnership, development sector, civil society. So it is basically a multi-stakeholder approach. So what NITI Aayog has come up to measure this, there are 4 reports were produced in the country on the SDG index by measuring. First report came in 2018, that is SDG India Index baseline report, that said where are in terms of baseline. Then after that, continuously their report on annual progress, what we have achieved, like index and dashboard 1920, then index and dashboard 2021, and also they have prepared a index and dashboard for northeast region specific. So 2021 index report is planned to be published by June this year. So 3 more months it will come. Apart from this sustainable development index reports, NITI Aayog has come up with SDGs evaluation, that is BNR report. Then also some sectoral reports, because it is SDG involves all the sectors. So health outcome index measures what is the state of health in India. Composite water management index based on the sustainable water. Then multi-dimensional poverty, very important indicator, and it was very talked about. It was published recently on basis which there was a lot of discussion everywhere. India Innovation Index, how we are doing in innovation. Age of living index, what is the motto of SDG, like ease of living. Then ease of mobility index talks about our infrastructure, communication, transport, all these things. So these are the products of NITI Aayog on measuring the sustainable development. Now we'll see the aspects of development we are talking about, to how far we have achieved, and some of the critical aspects. I'll start with population density. It has increased from 66% to 270% in Odisha. I'll give both Odisha and India figures so that it will be easy to correlate. Then one of the important factor is proportion of child population. As we can see, our movement from 1991 to 2001 to 2011, we can see the red states, that is adverse child sex ratio. So we are slightly moving in good direction, because in 2011 we can see some of the green states, specifically southern states. So that is good child sex ratio, and other states, the red indicates adverse child sex ratio. So that there is a challenge in child sex ratio. Then percentage of SC/ST population, we know Odisha is 22% ST population, 16% SC population. That is a challenge. Then literacy rate over the year, if we compare India and Odisha, we can see except urban Odisha, all the figures, all the graphs is lying down. That means if you see Odisha literacy rate, there is literacy gap. It has increased from 10% in 1961 to 64%. But compared to male, you can see there is 20% gap. So there is a challenge in literacy. Then based on district-wise female literacy rate, 14 districts in Odisha, the literacy rate is less than the Odisha average, that is 64%. And if you consider national average, that is 73%, it will be less. So districts like Malkangiri, Koraput, Nabrangpur, Raigada, Gajapati, you can see 30% literacy. That is a challenge, very good challenge for sustainable development. That we need to focus. Similarly, learning outcomes, it has come National Achievement Survey Index. National Achievement Survey, we see as we go on from class 3, class 5 and class 8, the learning objectives in mathematics or EVS or language, anything, it is coming down from 62% to 55% to 53%. That means there is literacy, but there is no learning. If there is no learning, then future will be very difficult in terms of scale, then future, and about the society. So it's a challenge for the society as a whole. Similar in terms of districts, we can see similarly, you will see some of the districts doing very bad in all the things like Dhenkanal, Mayurbhanj, Raigada, Kandhamar, but in all the three things. It will reflect in also multi-dimensional poverty index also. So that is a challenge. Child sex ratio, you can see the red district like Angul, Gajpati, Noyagad, it is adverse, like adverse child sex ratio. That is a challenge. Then in terms of child marriage, it still persists. You can see the red, the states which are colored in red. There is child marriage still persists. That is a challenge to sustainable development. Though there is a decline of 15 points in Odisha, still it is very high. That is in red zones. So that we have to see. Then if we see the marriage and fertility, there is a challenge because it is also affects your maternal health and maternal mortality. I'll talk about them later. So in terms of population living in households with basic services, we can see in terms of electricity, we are doing good. But what about sanitation? You can see sanitation is very poor in some of the districts in Odisha and India also. Clean cooking fuel. So we are not able to provide improve sanitation and clean cooking fuel after 75 years of independence. So that is a challenge for everyone. India and Odisha also. Then nutrition, as I was saying, if you see NFHS report recently 15-16, and then compared to 1920, NFHS 5, stunting, wasting, and underweight has gone uh, down in some sense and gone up in some sense. So that is a challenge. In terms of nutrition status, that I say there is a challenge because we're in red. There is increase in institutional delivery, but the vaccination is good. This is a very peculiar situation, like maternal mortality rate. So death of mother per 1,000 live births. We can say Odisha's figure is 150. That is very high. In also India's figure is 113. That is very high. We need to reduce it to, in advanced countries it is around 35. So from reducing maternal mortality from 150 to 35, that is our challenge of sustainable development. Then if you see maternal mortality rate across India, Assam, UP, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, they are also doing very badly. Kerala, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu is doing better. So I have to reduce to 35. So that is a challenge. Then infant mortality rate also, it is more. Now, coming on multidimensional poverty index. So earlier, generally we talk about below poverty line concept, that is Tendulkar committee report. How many proportion of population is below a certain level of poverty line defined by nationally. So that is quantitative measure. If we talk about poverty, poverty is not unidimensional, it is multidimensional. So we can see the components like nutrition, child adolescent mortality, antenatal care, years of schooling, school attendance, cooking fuel, sanitation, drinking water, electricity, housing, asset. If you see all these parameter, if we take into account all these parameter and build a index, it will be multi-dimensional poverty index. So there are 12 indicators and it includes all like health, education, and standard living. So it's a qualitative measure mostly. So if you see the population as multidimensional poor, in Bihar has highest multidimensional poor, like around 52%, and Kerala lowest. So Kerala is lowest because in Kerala the human development, all the factors are good, but Bihar, Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Assam are not doing that well in multidimensional poverty index. Coming to Odisha, some of our districts are doing well, like Puri, Jagatsinghpur, Cuttack, Khordhan, but there is challenge in as I said, same districts: Nabrangpur, Malkangiri, Koraput, Raigada, Kalahandi. It is very high, so that is a challenge. Then, in terms of climate, we know climate change is accelerating, bringing world dangerously close to irreversible change, forest fire, and everything. Is melting of Iceland, all these temperature increase, global warming. So all this is affecting the sustainable development. So as we continue on sustainable development path, we have to address the focus on climate change also. So regarding the background of sustainable development, as talked by Himanshu, it is adopted in 2015. It is sustainable in nature, universal in nature. The 193 countries, including India, have signed. It has come into existence from 1st January 2016, and we have target to achieve by 2030. By 2030, we'll achieve certain 17 goals and 169 targets and 232 global indicators. So if you see, this is in nutshell the all sustainable development goal. It starts with no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduce inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institution, partnership for the goal. So if we see all 17 goals, we have covered all the aspects: social, economic, political, psychology, environmental. So everything is covered under sustainable development goal. Nothing is left behind. So this is how we transition from MDGs to SDGs. These are basically the new goals. So SDGs 2000 focus is on universal. It applies to all the countries in the world, be it developed, developing, and less developed. So there are three facets: social, economic, and environmental. And measures of monitoring is big data analysis, citizen generated data, geospatial and earth observation, open data. So we are monitoring it at every level. Now, 3 dimensions of SDG, as I said. If we take social, it's will be poverty, hunger, health, education, gender, inequality, peace, justice, and strong institution. So social, political, all this will cover. Economic, as we know, covers energy, decent to work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production. In terms of environment, there is clean water and sanitation, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, and life on land. So it covers all the aspects. Then, as Himanshu was talking about, SDG talks about 5 P's. So everything is covered: people, prosperity, planet, peace, and partnership. Because if we want sustainable development, we have to focus on people, we have to focus on prosperity, we have to focus on planet, we have to focus on peace, and we have to achieve these goals through partnerships. So 5P is very important for achieving sustainable development goal. And the motto of sustainable development goal is leave no one behind. If you leave anyone behind, as I started, vulnerable, marginalized, if we leave them, then it is not sustainable development goal. Sustainable development goals includes everyone, inclusive growth for everyone, bottom population, downtrodden, marginalized, vulnerable, you have to carry forward everyone. We can't work on for certain set of people. Government has to focus on all the section of people, be it geography, in terms of discrimination, SOX, fragility, governance, good governance, and socio-economic status. So everything we have to cover. Then we'll focus on one by one, what we have achieved till now and what is the challenges. Like as I said, in no poverty, it is very central to also sustainable development goal. In terms of SDG 1, end poverty in all its form everywhere. Despite the ongoing process, 10% of world population still lives in poverty. So they are struggle to meet basic needs like health, education, access to water. So extreme poverty is there in low income countries. So that we have to capture, because there is a quote: poverty anywhere is a threat to prosperity everywhere. If someone is poor in any part of the globe, we can't be happy because it percolates to, it spreads to entire country. So poverty anywhere is a threat to prosperity everywhere. So we have to end poverty in all forms. Like in biggest challenge is world 736 million people living in extreme poverties. So in rural area, rural poverty rate is higher compared to urban, like 17.2%. That is also true in Odisha and also India. Rural poverty is more, so we have to focus on rural poverty more. Then in terms of hunger, we know undernutrition has been rise. There is a now Oxfam report that said the undernutrition has increased tremendously after COVID-19. The report says 142 million people in 2020 has suffered from undernourishment. If there is undernourishment, then that is not good standard of living, and there is no sustainable development. And stunting and wasting of children is a challenge for India and other countries as well. In terms of ensuring healthy lives, there is a challenge because as I said, there is high infant mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, and under 5 mortality rate. So we have to focus on these three aspects and other things. The mortality aspects. So we have to promote healthy lives and well-being for all ages, be it child, adolescent, and elder. So goal 4 talks about ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunity. Here focus is on learning, not literacy, because we may be literate, but we are not learned. So as you can say, 1 out of 4 countries still fail to meet the minimum math proficiency standard, that is learning outcome. And as we know, due to COVID, 1/3 of the children is out of the school because they don't have technology. So the pandemic has increase in educational inequalities, like 79% of well-off and 34% of poor. So poorer household with no internet facility are excluded. If they are excluded, it will not be able to achieve sustainable development. Then gender equality, I say it is the central to all sustainable development goal, because gender equality is a cross-cutting theme of all 17 development goals, and there are in every goal there is some gender aspect, as you know. And still we face gender inequality in many terms, like eliminating gender-based violence. Like based on data from 87 countries, 1 in 5 women have experienced physical sexual violence. Then child marriage persists, as I seen, 15 million girl childs get child marriage every year. That is not well. Then women do 2.6 times more unpaid care and domestic work. That is also a challenge. Sexual reproductive rights of the women. Then, as we know, women are very less in decision making. Like only in our country also, only 23.7% of the parliamentary seats are occupied by women, but mandate is 33% and above. Similarly, in decision making, be it managerial position, assemblies, all this, women, there is no representation of women. If there is no representation of women in decision making, it will affect 50% of the population because they contain 50%. So gender equality is one of the tools to achieve sustainable development. Then ensuring sustainable water and sanitation is important, because 91% of the global population is using improved drinking water source compared to 76%. Still, 2.5 billion people lack access to basic sanitation. That is a huge thing. And almost 5,000 children die every day due to water and sanitation related disease. So it is very critical situation. So we have to focus on sanitation and drinking water more compared to other. Like similarly, due to the proportion of households access to water, drinking water has increased, but it is still faced, because 59% households in rural area still don't have access to improved sanitation facilities. 600 million people in India defecate in open. That is highest in the world. So there is a adverse consequence on that. So we have to focus on that. Then in terms of energy, we have to provide affordable and accessible clean energy to everyone. 1.3 billion people still lack access to modern electricity. 3 billion people rely on wood, coal, all these hazardous like energy for their cooking, so that contributes that to their health and everything. So that has to be focused on. And renewable energy is only 12% of total energy. So renewable energy share in total energy should increase. So because it is clean. Other energy like thermal, they are not clean. So even if we generate more thermal energy, it will pollute more the society. So focus should be on clean cooking fuel, providing electricity and renewable energy. Then promoting sustained, inclusive, sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. Because it starts with all the basic amenities is affected by your livelihood. If you don't have a sustainable livelihood, then it is very difficult to achieve education, health, all this standard of living, because everything comes from your income. So unemployment has increased from 170 million to, to, to around 200 million in. So that is a challenge. In India, we know currently we have unemployment rate of more than 10%, that is highest in 45 years. So unemployment is a very big challenge in world level, India level. So that we have to focus. So focusing on unemployment and providing employment will depend on skill development. In India, only 6% of the labor force is skilled. Remaining 94% of the labor force is semi-skilled or unskilled. If you are semi-skilled or unskilled, chances of getting employment will be very high, bad. So India's labor force is increasing day by day, and so that is a challenge. So we have to provide skill development to each and every person, so that they will be skilled and they can set up their own ventures. They can provide sustainable livelihood. Then infrastructure, because everything will depend on infrastructure, inclusive industrialization and innovation. So if infrastructure will be good, then you have access to all the facilities, be education, health, because everything depends on infrastructure. The countries or the society which is poor in infrastructure fails in achieving sustainable development. Like CO2 emission, if CO2 emission is very high, then it is not sustainable development. Even if it is high growth, if CO2 emission is more, then you are polluting environment and you are not achieving sustainable development. So you have to achieve sustainable development with less CO2 emission, like green energy and all, green growth, we say. In terms of inequality, we know that currently inequality is highest, one of the biggest challenges in India. 97% of household income has declined due to COVID, and we know the multimillionaire or has increased. So that is K-shaped of growth. We know that one section is rich is getting richer and poor is getting poorer. If rich is getting richer and poor is getting poorer, then we are not achieving sustainable development. So there is the role of government in terms of distributive justice. Government should bridge the gap between rich and poor. If the gap between rich and poor declines, then that is sustainable development. And here the government's role is very important. So to measure to measure inequality, we generally use Gini coefficient. So Gini coefficient of income inequality in India has increased. So has risen. So from 33.4% to 33.6%, and it will rise more because we know the impact of COVID and our policies. So Gini coefficient of income inequality, so we should bring down, focusing on distributive justice. Then making cities and human settlement a safe and resilient space, like no one should live in without any house. Like 828 million people live in slum today, and their number is keeping increasing. And this is an adverse impact of urbanization. Due to urbanization, slums are increasing. So we have to plan the urbanization in such a manner that it will not create more slums. More cities should not mean more slums, but it is happening today. So our plan should be better so that industrialization and urbanization should not result in slum building. Because we know 68% of India's total population lives in rural areas, and there is high distress migration. Distress migration occurs due to this unplanned urbanization and industrialization. So we have to focus on that. Then sustainable production and consumption, as I said, we 1.3 billion ton of food are wasted every year. In our FCI, a lot of food are wasted because we are not able to distribute them properly. And other thing, like 1 billion people still don't have access to fresh water. All this thing. So India has committed to reduce emission intensity from 20 to 25% and by to 0% by 2070. So that is responsible consumption and production. By your production and consumption, you are not affecting the nature. Then climate action, as we know that Odisha, in this indicator, Odisha is doing well because we have managed our disaster management very well. But still, it is a very continuous challenge for everyone because global emission, carbon dioxide, increase in earth, like global warming and all. So rate of sea level has increased over 2 and it is highest in this decade. 2000 to 2010, the global mean sea level has risen by 0.19. That is highest. So we have to focus on that. Then underwater, life below water, like we have to focus on Earth's water, and because a lot of marine and coastal resources, it accounts to around 5% of the global GDP. So it is a very important factor because fisheries, a lot of people depends on fisheries. If we don't conserve sustainable use of ocean, sea and marine resources, it will be difficult for those set of people and obviously the life living below water. Then life on land, because of industrialization, we see rapid afforestation. 30 million hectares of forest are being lost every year. It's a huge number. 13 million hectare forests are being lost every year. We know that for sustainable development, 33% of the earth should be forest covered. But currently it is 26% for India. So that is not a good sign. We should focus on more forestation. And around 1.6 billion people depend on forest for livelihood also. And of which 70 million is indigenous. So they are more vulnerable, marginalized. So focus will be more on that. Then SDG 16 is very important. Here comes the role of political science, rule of law, everything. We have to promote the peaceful and inclusive society for sustainable development. If it is not peaceful, if rate of crime is not minimum, then it is not sustainable development. So we have to prevent corruption, bribery, theft, tax evasion, all these things. If rate of crime comes down, then it is a good society and sustainable society. Currently, as you see, NCRB data over the years, the crime against women and child is increasing by 26%. That is not a good sign for sustainable development. So that is the challenge, and our government has a role to play in terms of vigilance, strict monitoring, providing the justice. We know a lot of cases are around 2 crore cases are pending in different courts. So that is not a good sign. Justice should be quick. Then basic 17 talks about the partnership, because sustainable development goals can't be achieved by only government. there is role of private sector, there is role of civil society, there is role of everyone. So if we come together, like private, corporate, development, all the sectors come together, then we can achieve sustainable development, because it needs a lot of funding. So funds should come from everywhere. Now as in terms of monitoring and evaluation, as I said, 17 goals, 169 targets, and these are being monitored. And in Odisha, we have devised 367 targets to monitor our sustainable development goal. And in terms of our progress, if you can see the performance of states on SDG India Index, so it is growing, but still challenge is there, because we see the yellow ones. Yellow ones are the challenge, because still they are performer. The green ones are doing well, like Kerala and southern states, they are doing well. That is good. So the more the green, the better the sustainable development. So the more the red, like this is bad, not a good sign for sustainable development. And in terms of if you see the sustainable development India index from 2018 to 21, Himachal Pradesh, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu, they are going well. Kerala, as we see, lowest multidimensional poverty, highest sustainable development book, because they are focused on human development more. Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Karnataka, Goa, Andhra Pradesh, they are doing well. The states that are doing bad is Bihar, Jharkhand, Assam, Uttar Pradesh, because they have not focused on human development, they have not focused on good governance. Odisha, it is evolving. Odisha's score is increased. In 2018, our score was 51, rank was 26. We increased to our score increased from to 58 in 2019, and rank increased to 15. Now our score is 61. So we are improving, but we have to catch up to the developed states. And in terms of overall, if you see, where Odisha and India, we have to focus more on hunger. As I say, undernutrition is a very challenge for the society. Then we have to focus on quality education, gender equality, decent work, and innovation and infrastructure. Other things we are doing well. In terms of environment, we are doing well, but we are performing bad in social indicators and economic indicators. So we have to focus on that. Then this is the latest report, SDG Urban Index, that also ranked in terms of other things. In Odisha, Planning and Convergence Department is the nodal agency for monitoring sustainable development goal in Odisha, in which I am working. So we are coming with very reports on our sustainable development goal. For details, you can visit Planning and Convergence Department website. You will find all the materials related to Odisha SDG indicator framework, SDG budgeting, all these things. This is how monitoring happens. Basically, to achieve sustainable development goal, you have to map SDG indicators with the schemes. The schemes should be mapped with goal, target, then various departments, then their schematic indicators. Then you have to align our central sector scheme, state sector scheme to the target, so that we can achieve. And there should be periodicity monitoring. Every year we come up with a report. Now, to sum up, I'll say what are the biggest challenges as we see. So strategies for achieving sustainable development goal in world, India and Odisha. We can see the focus would be SDG planning and budgeting, because everything comes on planning and budget for that. And focus would be on left out household, vulnerable, marginalized. We should do GIS mapping. Whichever household is devoid of all the basic necessities or basic amenities should be mapped and they should be identified, and they should be provided with those facilities so that we can achieve. Then localization of sustainable development goal, because sustainable development goal, everyone has role to play, starting from union government, state government, and panchayat. So panchayat and municipality should include those sustainable development goals in their plans. That is localization of SDGs. And focus should be on last mile connectivity, poorest of poor, marginalized, vulnerable. If we focus on poorest and poor, if we provide service to poorest, poor, marginalized, vulnerable society left out, then we can achieve sustainable development goal. Otherwise, it will be difficult. So to do that, we should focus on skill development. As I said, only 6% of the labor force in India is skilled. So rapid skill development and entrepreneurship will lead to sustainable livelihood. Financial inclusion. Till now, we don't have good banking intensity infrastructure, low banking infrastructure in Odisha. It is very low in other states also. If we can't include them in our formal banking sector, it will be difficult for them to achieve sustainable livelihood. So, and reduction of inequality, obviously, focus on those who have left out, and so that we achieve all the section of the society. So, fruit of the economic growth or fruit of the development should reach all the people. If it is not reaching all the people, if it is not percolating to grassroots level, then it is not development. If it is enjoyed by all and every section of the society, irrespective of caste, creed, color, and everything, then it is development. Then for that to achieve, we should have a multi-stakeholder approach. We should involve everyone, government, private, development sector, everyone, so that they can contribute on their sector. And role of civil society is very important, because civil society takes all this matter seriously, all the awareness regarding SDG, everything. So they act as vigilant watchguard amongst development sector, and so that we can achieve sustainable development. So thank you everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. If there is any questions, I would happy to answer.
So thank you, Pradeep. I mean, it was a wonderful experience with you. I know that you are from economics, and certainly you will give some data. And I belong to political science, and I perceive sustainable development with a different orientation, and you perceive sustainable development in a different orientation. But at the end, we have to be philosopher to see all these compartment like economics, history, political science, sociology. These are actually meaningless.
Yes.
And in a sense, we say that there is politics in economics, and there is economics in politics. And we need to understand it. There is something called political economy, right? And political economy we handle with a different perspective, and you may handle it. You will handle it in a different perspective. So when you are defining sustainable development, defining sustainable development goals and designing NITI Aayog, then evaluating NITI Aayog in achieving sustainable development goals, then it is political. It is more political than non-political, right? So you talked about institutional arrangements of NITI Aayog so far as the achievement of sustainable development goal is concerned. You provided many data, and you also said about various challenges. You gave certain suggestion to achieve the sustainable development goal. So thank you Pradeep for it, and thank you for your preparation of this PowerPoint, right? But as a student of social science, so I'm not using political science right now. We are the student of social science. We always think about the individual, the state, and the society, the interrelation between among these three: individual, state, and society. It should be sound, and then only that sarvodaya or well-being is actually possible, and economics is one part of that. I will not say that whether economics is the base and everything is the superstructure. I will not go by that. So, it, this is something academics, this is something, beyond the, ideology. So as a student of social science, I was more interested in understanding the reason of not achieving of, sustainable development goals. Have we achieved it? And certainly you have answered it. In a society when the rich is becoming richer, the poor is becoming poorer, then sustainable development goal or the achievement of sustainable development goal by the government is under the question. So what is the role of state? What is the role of society? What is the role of people? While introducing it, I read out what you sent to me. You have nicely pointed this. This NITI Aayog works closely with various stakeholders, such as government, civil society, private sector, academia, think tanks, research organization, multilateral organization. Now these are the various stakeholders, and these stakeholders are actually different from each other.
Correct.
So when NITI Aayog is working with different stakeholders, what is happening? Are they jointly working on same points, or they have some different perspective, different goal? So with this a small kind of observation, I welcome Dr. Santosh Kumar Mahapatra. Today he will act as an discutant, and he will evaluate your talk. I mean, evaluation means saying what is the strength of your talk and what you have missed. And in academics, it is all about the free discussion. We are here to learn. So learning is not complete. So Dr. Mahapatra, you may carry on right now.
Thank you. Am I audible?
You are very much
Audible.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Himanshu Sekhar Mishra, and my dear Pradeep Panda. I am very pleased to know that in present situation you are going to organize seminar every day, because such type of a discussion is not made in university colleges. It was made in our time. What is important, students should think independently. You have discussed about politics, economics, particularly politics, political science or economics as a text is a different thing. So when you enter into the arena of politics and economics, it is a totally different. Economics is a very small part of politics. Politics governs economics. Many tells that you should be apolitical. That is quite wrong. Everything is decided. Whether a teacher will be permanent, whether a UGC grant will increase, whether there will be job, or whether there will be policy to reduce poverty, hunger. What exactly you are also telling? What are the policy? Why sustainable development goal is not achieved? It's all linked with the politics. So politics governs everything. Politics is much larger than economics, because you see in the USA there are so many Nobel laureates in economics, but those who rule, they don't take the advice of Nobel laureate. They decide. You see in every sphere, in every country. So politics is a bigger subject. So that is I am not going to discuss here. What is about what Dr. Panda said? I was very happy that he's in Odisha and he's part of Odisha government. I was very impressed. Exactly, I come across him through Facebook, and though he's very much junior in age, but we became very much friend. He was writing in Odisha Post when I was writing, and I was very impressed the way he was very dedicated and committed to this education. Particularly spreading the information, educating the population. That is one of the biggest thing where I was very much impressed. And today I am very happy that you told me to give my some speech. I was very pleased the way he described. He talked about the past history of the Sustainable Development Goal, Millennium Development Goal, and he also discussed in larger context about the Odisha. He has not gone to about to national context or the relevance of the position of Odisha in relation to other. He has given detailed description about Odisha. That is a very pleasing. So students will be very benefited. Particularly, what important thing he told, there is a growing literacy but decline in learning. The most important point of his speech is growing literacy but decline in learning, which is a part of all subject, part of necessary, because growth of reading or is one aspect, but thinking, learning means you have to learn in the pro-people angle. That is the most important thing. How you are learning to justify the misdeed of the rich and powerful, or whether you are learning to point out, expose the failure of the ruling class or government, how the vulnerable sections of the society are decimated, how poverty, hunger are increasing. He has a detail. He has also spoken about the details 17 goals where Odisha is prospering and where Odisha is failing. How hunger, poverty still we are not eliminating. But I want to add and supplement this, particularly when we discuss about the sustainable development goal. Exactly, we have to think what Gandhiji has told. That is the most important thing. Gandhiji had told the world has enough for everyone's need, but not everyone's greed. That is the important point which is not discussed, that the sustainable development goal is based on this theory. The world has enough for everyone's needs, but not everyone's greed. That is the most important thing. Why we are talking about the sustainable development goal? That means goal, the life we maintain, the humanity should be sustained till the longer times. Our natural resources, mineral resources are scarce, perishable. One day it will be exhausted. Then what will happen? Because politicians think of the today, they do not think of the tomorrow, they do not think of the future. The statesman, intellectual, academician must think of the future. They do not think that whether humans survive tomorrow. You see how the election campaign is going when the people are ravaged by the pandemic, when 4.6 crore people have been dragged into the extreme poverty, when 84% of the population have seen their decline in income. That is the most important thing you must understand. So, in this context, when politician, ruling class, I am not telling any particular government, in the entire world, you see when people are dying, Russia has waged a battle against war against Ukraine. Of course, Russia is not only responsible; it is the USA and NATO. Why they did not dismantle NATO when there was a end of the Cold War? So both are responsible. When people are dying, when survival of humanity is at stake, when natural resources is declining, when we are not able to invent a medicine to cure heart attack, brain stroke, cancer, such dreaded disease, people are dying every day. Science has failed to address such things, but they are indulging in war. All the entire world are spending huge money in the expenditure, particularly war and armaments. If those money can be utilized for the development of human being, for the society, then there will be no poverty, hunger, starvation. But the question is not, we have what I was telling, goal must be sustainable goal. We must, the planning of the government, planning of the world, planning of the UN, should that development will be much sustainable for the longer time, not today what politician envisage. That is the difference between politician and a statesman. So now goal, how it will be sustainable? United Nations has made 17 goals, which Dr. Panda has told. And in line with this, our NITI Aayog has also made certain goals accordingly. And particularly in sustainable development goal, India's position is declining. It is around 120 out of 194 countries. Previous year it was 117. Then next previous year it was 2%. That means in the last 2-3 years they are declining. That means in terms of sustainable development goal, India is occupies abysmally 120 position. That means behind 119 countries. That is the most important thing which must haunt us. So when coming to the how to the sustainable development, NITI Aayog, what he has done, they have also come with the goals. And that goals, Odisha is not enjoy a better position. That must be also, since Dr. Panda is working, he must be aware of this. Top 5 position, Kerala tops the list. Kerala tops the list with 75 score out of 100. Behind comes Himachal Pradesh, Tamil Nadu. They scored 74. Then comes Andhra Pradesh, Goa, Karnataka, Uttarakhand. They scored 72. Then comes Sikkim, they 71. Then comes Maharashtra, 70. Odisha is placed in bottom 5th position. Odisha is with particularly Bihar is worst. Odisha is with Chhattisgarh, Nagaland, and Odisha with a score of 61. But behind Odisha, Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Assam, Jharkhand, Bihar is the worst. So Odisha is comparatively better, particularly in the last 20 years during the regime of Navin Patnaik. There is a comparison. I don't think there is a substantial development in Odisha, but there is still little bit development because when we are developing, other states are developing. So in last 20 years, in some area, Odisha has improved in national airstreak. So in sustainable development goal, Odisha, though it is in bottom 5th position, but there are 5, 6, 7 states which is Odisha is better than them. Particularly, Odisha has done well in certain sectors. Particularly, Odisha is best achieved goal, life below water. Next, Odisha has done so far as climate actions. That is the important thing. Odisha has the best position in that. But particularly, as far as poverty is concerned, Tamil Nadu has best. Tamil Nadu tops the list. As far as zero hunger conduct, Chandigarh is best. As far as good health and well-being is concerned, Gujarat comes. Goal for quality education, Chandigarh comes. Goals for gender equality, Chhattisgarh. Like this, I do not want to spend more time on that purpose. Particularly, what there was more things. Particularly, there is also what important point need discussions. The present position of a sustainable development goal in context with the impact of the pandemic. That means we might have known coronavirus report, Oxfam, we might have known a hunger virus report. People have become more hunger. Exactly in the world, around in India, around 25% people are multidimensional poor. Largest number of hungry and poor people in India. 19.4 crore people are languishing under hunger. So poverty, hunger is pervasive in India. And in that context, particularly in the aftermath of pandemic, when rich has become richer in India, around the wealth of billionaire has increased for this pandemic period from 23 lakh crore to 53 lakh crores, more than twice. When people have lost job, livelihood, when their income has declined. So there is since Dr. Panda is Odisha department, he must evaluate in the context of the pandemic, what are the situation of particularly Odisha, and he can also introduce this index in relation to state, in relation to district wise, how the districts are doing in that index. And particularly what there was a much question raised exactly why the goal is not achieved. Particularly, there is a goal and target. There is a difference between a goal and target because the sustainable development goal have some targets and some have goals. Target is an indicator established to determine how successful you are achieving an objective. Goal, on the other hand, an indicator established to determine whether you have achieved your objective. That is the difference between goal and a target. I am not going to explain this. The most important thing what you are raising, why the sustainable development goal is not achieved. But as a human being, I am least concerned about this. I am concerned about the well-being of the society. I am least concerned about the what are goals. There was a talk also about growth and development. Sometimes in earlier we are reading GDP is sometimes told that GDP is an indicator of growth. Some tell no, GDP is not indicator of growth, but it's a different thing. But growth or development, we may take it GDP as one indicator of growth. It is an indicator of the market activities, economic activities. But development means qualitative improvement in the life of the people. That is the most important. Qualitative improvement in the life of people means one should not be only amassed wealth. One should have educational development, health facilities, all these things. One should have a independent thing, all that aspect of development. The main reason behind the goal is not achieved. World has enough wealth. India has enough wealth. People have enough wealth. Then why poverty, hunger persist? There will be inequality. I am not against inequality, but inequality should not be as large as today. 1% should not enjoy 33% of wealth. That should not be made. There must be respect from talent, entrepreneurship. But the problem is that when there's so much wealth in a country or a world, why people are languishing under poverty and starvation? That must be discussed. The main reason behind it is not people are not good or people are not contributing. The main reason is rich and corporate are not paying taxes. Government is not addressing the distributive justice. Government is withdrawing its role. When there is a question of intervening for the interest of the society masses comes, they think it is non-business of not the business of government. But when it comes to provide the concession to richer section of the society or corporate, then it comes to the question of intervention. Then it is a pro-reforms. So particularly, you see, after you are having income around taxable income 10 lakh, you will pay 30% tax. Those earning crores of rupees, for example, IPL, film star, those who are enough wealth, they are not paying the same 30% tax. Those who India do not have a wealth tax, inherit tax. It is the question that means distribution of wealth. We have enough wealth, but distribution of wealth is not done properly. And particularly, system is made to evade the tax. System is made to exploit the society. System is made to keep the black money. What is the tax haven? What is the double tax haven? The tax haven in 132 tax haven. Most of the rich leaders, politicians, film stars, celebrities are keeping crores of black money where their identity is kept secret, where do not pay tax. If they pay tax less, our system is exactly stock market. Stock market is a biggest gambling which enable the rich garners the wealth. Exactly, no, it is not related to productivity. Those who have accumulated huge wealth during the pandemic because of rise of the stock market, where investors, finance capital are investing, reduction of interest rate, they are beneficiary. When interest rate is today, we are undergoing financial repression, means we are getting negative real interest. Our return on deposit is negative because inflation is much higher than return. So, but corporate, the debt liability of corporate and government is reduced by the reduction of the interest. So system is made in such way to perpetuate hunger, poverty, and starvation. What it is important? When you think of your salary, when you think of your life, Tata, Ambani, Adani, they think of that become number one billionaire or number one rich in the society. So, what is the basic instinct of a human being is that he or she wants to enjoy the biggest supremacy in a given realm. That is why inequality is perpetuated through income inequality, wealth inequality, or inequality based on different factors. So our world system is responsible for this inequality or not achieving. Most important thing is the government should tax the rich, wealthy at a higher rate. It should spend more in the health, education, particularly provide education, health free of cost, as well as housing, and life should be easier. One should pay more tax to the government. It is not individual should contribute. Government should collect more taxes from the people, but make their life comfortable, easy by investing more health, education, essential commodities, and inflation price rise must be controlled. That must be the objective. Then our objective, whether it is sustainable goal or that is a different matter, it is an economic term, but our objective to have a qualitative improvement in life and a better standard of life. Thank you all giving me a chance to share my thoughts. I thank Dr. Himanshu Sekhar Mishra for organizing such a regularly every day. He's organizing when there is no debate. And I thanks Pradeep, Dr. Panda, to get interact with him. Thank you all. They can ask question Pradeep Panda. They can also, I can also reply. Thank you all.
So thank you, Dr. Mahapatra. Dr. Mahapatra is also going to give a talk on the topic imperative of critical thinking and political consciousness. I intentionally selected Dr. Mahapatra. It's because of his understanding. The kind of suggestion Dr. Mahapatra is giving, and this suggestion has been given by many great political and social scientists. I think the problem is that on one hand we have market capitalism, and on the other hand we have a corrupt bureaucratic system, and in between it people, society, including today's topic, sustainable development, that has been trapped. So if you talk to, or if Gandhiji would have been there, from the Gandhian perspective, sustainable development means reducing rapid growth, or at least need should be prioritized than the greed. And today if you see the market economy, and you will find that how surplus is very important for the growth, and growth is also a very important aspect of the development. Now in such a juncture, can we really think about sustainable development? On one hand corrupt bureaucracy, on the other hand the market capitalism, and we are talking about NITI Aayog, we are talking about United Nations, we are talking about sustainable development. And when my personal experience is telling to me that at the cost of the future generation, the present generation is trying to survive, and this is a very strong observation I have made, and I can give you, not on this platform, why I said it so. So on the basis of these two observation by me and observation by the Dr. Mahapatra, if you want to reply, you can reply. Then I will go back to Om. Om is working on that topic, and he will give his observation. Yes, Pradeep.
Sure. Sure, sure. Basically, I agree to the points. Regarding the Odisha's position, actually, there are two, three things. Odisha's position, when Nithya comes out with any report, any index for that matter, the indicators changes every year. In 2018, the set of 64 indicators were taken. Those are different taken from 2019. And in 2020, 115 indicators is taken. So indicators varies. So the rank coming down or coming up is not a big question. Only point is that you have to see the score. Score is increasing or not. That's why I focus more on score, because indicators changes. It is not correct to rank. It is told by many governments also. That is true, because if there is just one set parameters, then you can compare each set. If indicator changes, there is no point of comparison. In that matter, score is important. So score, Odisha is growing, that is one state, but I understand that the challenges like Odisha facing. And regarding the preparation of district wise, we are working on that. We will come up with Odisha state baseline report where Odisha is positioned, and with SDG dashboard and SDG Odisha report in Odisha index. In SDG Odisha index, you will come to know like which states, which districts are doing well and where they're lacking. So we're working on that. It will be very soon. It will be published. It will be available on Planning and Convergence website. You can all see. Regarding Himanshu question, I agree. See, as I started, I said we, as a student of social science, as a student of political science, economics, every sociology, we are always taught development should have a human face. So human face means it should satisfy your need, not greed. Because human always, human means it should be need, not greed. As Gandhiji said in Small is Beautiful. Always focus should be on human need, not greed. So in sustainable development also, we try to focus how we can achieve the growth will be enjoyed by the marginalized people. That I started, because if market capitalism is going, there is crony capitalism, as I say, as Santosh sir said, like billionaire increase their income from 20% to 43%, double, while 84% of the Indian households income has declined. So it is not sustainable. That is our question. So there comes the role of government. The role of government is distributive justice. Focus on the people or those section of society, those are left out from this development. If development is not inclusive, then it is not sustainable. So development has to be inclusive. We have to take into account all the section of the society. We have to see the need, basic needs, like be it water supply, electricity connection, sanitation, clean cooking fuel, education, health. It is fulfilled for all human beings. So if we say 135 crore Indian fellow citizen, so we should satisfy their basic needs. Then we should focus on how to increase the market economy. That is secondary question. So point of all 17 sustainable development goal is how to fulfill the basic needs of all the human beings, so that you enjoy decent standard of living, dignity of living. This is called dignity of living. Dignity of living and ease of living. If ease of living is good, then you are achieving sustainable development goal. If ease of living is not good, then you are not achieving sustainable development goal. So focus should be on ease of living and standard of living. So anyone can question.
Oh, thank you, Pradeep. I think I always, there is a philosopher within us.
Yes.
And the philosopher within me, it is always saying to me that, so as long as human beings are selfish, sustainable is not possible. So everything depends, everything. I think it's a morality, it's a values. It's not material. Sustainable development is a value. It's a
Yes.
morality, it's a ethics that we need to practice. Then only it's the people who is making society, it's the people who is making the state.
Yes.
Right? So this selfless attitude will lead towards the appropriate sustainable development.
Correct.
Otherwise, I think it will be just like showing up things, and I am fighting to be a captain in a ship, and that ship has a hole. That ship is about to sink. Right.
Right.
So it's just like that. So Om, you can give your observation.
Thanks, Dr. Himanshu Sekhar Mishra sir. Again, give me a chance to express my observation. And thanks to Dr. Panda sir also brilliantly explained about this data. And thanks to Dr. Santosh Kumar Mahapatra sir for evaluated. Sir, actually, we know that very well, everybody knows that whatever the Bertrand Commission has also given a definition that sustainable development is that development which meets the need of the present generation without compromising the ability of the future generation. Generally, it is means here the word sustainability means we should sustain, we should develop it in such a way that it will be sustained for our future generation. Whatever Pandas are also said, and whatever I have done in my literature review also, that the three words on the social, economic, and environment. In three words is also interconnected. If it will be one units will be harmed, then it automatically harm to all. So it cannot be sustainable. So sustainable development is not a limited words. It is for our future generation. Whatever in you can take the example of ancient time, they were also consuming in such a way that they were thinking about future, but in present condition, we are selfish in nature due to our selfish. We can take the example. Suppose in outside the water is flowing from tap, and we should thought that the water should be flow. And at that time, if we may stop that water, that this is our nature through which we can sustain for future generation. And NITI Aayog, in every constitution, every country you can find one institution to achieve this 17 goals, whatever the United Nations organization has mentioned in the 17 goals, whatever the Pandas are also explained, it brilliantly data has given that in India, whatever I have done only the one goal because the 17 goal done research is very hard. I have done all this 7 goal, that is the affordable and clean energy. Means though I have chosen the International Solar Alliance. The India has signed 121 contests. That no doubt the NITI Aayog is making so many policy, but that policy is not reaching to the rural people because the people are also not knowing about that things. That's the reason that all the countries are not coming into the rank level because when all the state in India came to the top rank, then only we can achieve the sustainable development, whatever the United Nations organization has given. But I have thought when I have done the field study, at that time I could found that government is making so many solar policy, but that policy is not coming to the local people. They are not knowing how what is the solar system is working. No doubt India has signed 121 countries and it has kept a target that in 2030 it will achieve only for 3 gigawatt electricity only from the solar panel. But that can be possible or it depends upon the country how their institution is working. No doubt NITI Aayog is giving a think tank. It is also we are saying that whatever the Dr. Himanshu sir said, it is a think tank, only the suggestion. But depend upon us that how that can be sustained, how that can be achieved the 17 goals. It depends upon us. If you will be self-enough, we cannot achieve that things. So we should think that whatever it is my duty, then only we can achieve all the goals and all the state can. And another point also again that making the policy is not important, depends upon the one state how it can be funded. Because in my research, in my topic is the sustainable development goal and NITI Aayog study on the solar energy, and particularly I am doing research on the solar field, that it is a very huge amount to buy one solar panel because one state cannot buy it. So depends upon the funding also, because all the state come to the rank in the top rank. It depends upon the funding how the country and center can provide funding. Whatever the planning commission, there was no linking between the center state, but when replaced planning commission NITI Aayog came, it is connected between the center and state, and it is also funding. But if the government can provide equally to all the state, then only we can achieve the 17 goals. And sustainable development also saying that it is also two different things. We should sustain in such a way that it will be for future generation. Only the thinking is not important. And the word sustainable development also you can use in different field. In education field also you can sustain that. In tourism, in my literature review, I can found that according to Poon, he explained about the sustainable development in the tourism also field, because we should make our tourism in such way it will be for our future generation. Thought that there was a place that in our ancient people are using, then now also using in our future generation also, because it is our depend upon our thinking. So brilliantly explained about that things. Thank you to all of you, and I am very happy to explain that things also, and I also found so many data also, and I will put in my research also. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Om. Om is working with Dr. Satyaprakash Das, and Satyaprakash Das is known because of Professor Sriram Chandra Das. So I'm giving all these opportunities to my students, at least for this reason, that it will raise their confidence, right? Or otherwise I would have set up, okay, you ask your question, then this speaker will just respond. Okay, let them speak. I think that's a kind of training the university must provide. So the last question I will take of Sanjay Suna. Sanjay, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am here.
You directly ask this question to the speaker.
Okay, sir. As the current world favor a rich minority, how can we overcome the underlying inequality in the international system and the social system to achieve this sustainable development goal?
Okay, nice question. So minorities as a population, if you see, it varies from different countries. Like there are many countries in which there is no minority, because it is consists of one set of population. If we see in India, we know who are minority. So minority varies according to the country, state, and districts. So the certain set of population which is minority in one country may be majority in another country. So it is the focus is on population. If all the population covered under sustainable development goal, be it marginalized, vulnerable, if they are provided access to basic facilities like, as I said, drinking water, sanitation, education, health, all this, and focus will be on their skill development and livelihood, finance and inclusion, all this. It will lead to sustainable livelihood, and they'll come to mainstream of the society. So if we focus on all the section of society, irrespective of any section, irrespective of caste, class, creed, as I said, then it will result in sustainable development goal. As I said, the motto of sustainable development goal is leave no one behind. Even if you are leaving 1% behind, poorest poor, whatever, one section, then also it is not sustainable development goals. So minority is a focus, because there are many policies of government of India, government of Odisha, and others focusing on how they can be brought to mainstream of the society. That is a focus. But I'll say that focus should be on all the sections of the society, irrespective of any class. So focus should be on left out household, not on class.
So thank you, Pradeep. I think the solution doesn't lie to economics or economists.
Yes.
Rather than, as Dr. Mahapatra said, that all these economists, they work with politicians. I think as long as politicians are not becoming, statesmen, then this problem will continue on. All these, programs are for rich. No one should be left behind. But practically we are seeing most of them are left behind. You are addressing one kind of marginalization, and while dealing with that, you are producing multiple kinds of marginalization.
That is the challenge.
It's not challenge. This is actually there is a problem. No, if you are a doctor
Ah.
and you are healing one disease, and while healing one disease, you are
It creates
creating
disease.
several diseases. So that means there is a problem with the doctors. And who are the doctors today? These doctors are politicians. And what they should be statesmen. They should always think about the next generation, not the next election. Right? If not today, if they will not do it on today, tomorrow will not be there. And this is not cynicism. This is something I agree with, Dr. Mahapatra. I am pleased that, a person in Odisha is also having such kind of, thinking. But then we need to give some, way forward that is, practical normative and practical. Something which is normative, it should be means normative. But that normative, people must understand it and people must do it. That is something I think we need to do it. And once vision is clear, once you are very much fair, then you give everything to the economist can manage things well. Right. So thank you, Dr. Panda. Now we are at the last part of this event. Now I request my student Bonita Lakra to provide vote of thanks to our speaker.
Good evening to all, sir. Am I audible?
You are sorry audible.
Okay, sir. Good evening to all, sir. First of all, I think I am so lucky to give me a chance to present vote of thanks for this webinar talk. I am thankful to Honorable Speaker Dr. Pradeep Kumar Panda, sir, for his delightful presentation about NITI Aayog and Sustainable Development and Evolution. I would like to thank our convener, Dr. Himanshu Sekhar Mishra, sir, and also thankful to all distinguished scholars and all participants. Once again, I am thankful to all participants for the success of webinar. Thank you, sir.
You are mute, sir. Sir, you are mute.
I'm sorry. So thank you, Banita. I'm the technical person also, so I have to do multiple tasks. So thank you, Banita, for your vote of thanks. I think you missed one personality, and that is Dr. Santosh Kumar Mahapatra. Special thanks.
Sorry, sir.
It's okay. Let me do that.
No problem.
So special thanks should be given to Dr. Santosh Kumar Mahapatra. I mean, without him, this talk would have been it's a halfway. You always need a critic. You always need a opposite. You always need a adversary to know whether you are on the right way or not. So it is his contribution today. Today he acted as a critic, as an adversary, and as a true friend of academics. So thank you, Dr. Santosh Mahapatra,
Namaste.
and thank you one and all. And Pradeep, Pradeep is brilliant. Pradeep was one of the best student of our batch. So he has progressed a lot. So thank you. We are at the end of the session. I am just stopping the recording.
Thank you everyone.